Hello, movie patient, and welcome to Film Therapy. I am Brienne, also known as Miss Movies, also known as your film therapist. I am not a real therapist, but I play one on the internet just for this show. And as with every show, I always have a guest patient, and my guest patient for this session of film therapy is Ace. I'm just going to say Ace. Andres Cabrera.
Is this when I come in?
This is when you
This is
enter.
when I come in. Cool.
Yes. Welcome to my home.
Thank you.
Welcome
Yeah.
to the kitchen.
Yeah. It's
And
great.
to
It's
the dining
beautiful.
room.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for being here.
Yeah. Thank you for having me. I really do appreciate it.
So here is how film therapy works for those that have never seen it. Basically, I ask three questions of my guest patient. It's the same three questions each time. What is a film that inspires you? What is a film or a scene from a film that triggers a memory for you? Perhaps it's painful, maybe it's happy. And what is a film that helps you through difficult times? I started this show because I suffer from depression, and I find that film actually
Mhm.
helps me cope with depression. And so I always say this disclaimer at the top of if you are in a have an emergency right now, I want you to please call your doctor, call 911, call someone that you know that can help you because I want you to get the help that you need immediately. Because I'm not a therapist, so I can't really help you.
No,
And Ace is not a therapist
I am
either.
not. No.
But anyways, before we get into our questions, let's learn a little bit more about my patient
Okay.
today. You kind of told us.
I
See,
did.
he Andres was also on 6 Degrees of Feature Film right before this, so he
Yeah.
did tell us a little bit about himself then.
I did.
But we're gonna go in further
Got it.
and say, let's pretend that all these people haven't seen
Got it.
that.
Um.
So,
Yeah. I'm first generation American. My parents. My mom is from Colombia and my dad's from Mexico. They met in Venezuela when my dad was working in Venezuela.
mm,
And then they moved, got married, moved to Mexico, and then came over to the U.S. So they're straight up hardcore Latino family. You know, grew up in southern Texas, border
mhm.
towns. Um, so what's great is that growing up in border towns is one where my dad is working in Mexico and my family's living in the U.S.
Oh,
So
whoa.
yeah, it's really nuts. So he would literally cross the border every day to
Oh
like
my
go to
gosh.
work and go back to
Hmm.
work, and that's kind of like the whole like process of like you know the status between living in border towns. And then we did that for a long time, and then we moved to El Paso, where my dad, which is still in Texas, and then that's where my dad worked in Juarez, which is still in Mexico, and we kind of had some time in Juarez as well. And then we would live in America in El Paso, which was the U.S., and that's the whole border crossing as well. And we did that for like the vast majority of my life till
Hmm.
like high school, till I moved to Arizona, where um, still very much with my family, and then went to Arizona State and moved
Sun
to
Devils.
Sun Devils. Yeah,
All
yeah,
right.
that's why I'm all Phoenix and everything is all Arizona'd out. But yeah, so family is a huge part of my life, and it having a huge connection with them. So
I do like how you told us about moving out to California and why you did that. So I'm hoping you'll also share that as well.
yeah, so another huge part of my life is hip hop, and my brother has been doing hip hop, and he's been in the hip hop game for my oldest brother for years now. And he's much older than me, so he came out to LA to pursue a career in hip hop, and I started to get really into hip hop to the point where you know I kind of just dabbled in it for fun, but there was
Hmm.
moments where people were like, dude, you're good enough to do this for real, like you can
Yeah.
actually pursue a career in this. And it's like one of those things where they're like telling me to continue to pursue it, and I would do freestyles, I would do ciphers, I would do battles, I would do all this stuff where I was like the lone Mexican kid trying to rap battle against all these
I
guys.
love it.
And it's one of those things where I got pretty decently good at it, and I was like, you know what, screw it, I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna do the same thing my brother did, even though he didn't quite continue to pursue it, because he got more into film and got more into production and got more into television. And but then my final year of college, I was doing this program,
Hmm.
which was a media program, which was very much about movies and film and script writing and getting in front of the camera and all that. And that's when I started to get more into, maybe I should move out to LA to pursue a career in
Yeah.
television and film and production and
This is
all
the
that
place
stuff.
to do it.
Yeah, totally. And it's something that I'm very passionate about as well. And my brother told me about an opportunity out here for a TV production company. Interviewed for it through Skype in Phoenix. Told me I got the job and I moved out here to California.
Right.
Yeah.
Nice. Is that the
Yeah.
job you currly have?
It's the job I currently have. Yeah,
Whoa.
it's the
So
job
wait, how long ago did you move out here?
a while ago.
Okay.
It feels like, I mean, it feels like just yesterday, but it's been a while. It's been
Mm.
like almost, it's like 2.5 years now or more.
I thought
Yeah.
you were gonna say like 10 years.
No,
And I'm like, oh
two and
whoa,
a half years
cool.
is forever, Brienne. It's
I
forever.
guess so.
Um,
I'm like,
but
how long have I been in LA?
but
It's been a long time.
it's yeah, but it's not the same position,
Mhm.
thankfully,
Okay.
because I started
You've moved up.
from the bottom.
Right.
I was like, you're
That's
gonna
kind
be a
of how it works
yeah, you're gonna
in
be
a
a
lot of
PA, and I'm
places.
like, cool, I'll be a PA. I'll do whatever you guys need, and then
Hmm.
eventually work my way up to associate producer, and then fingers crossed, producer eventually.
Yes.
Because I want to. I've been producing for a year already, so please hire me as a producer.
Hmm. That would be nice.
So
Do
that's
it.
kind of how production companies work. So, but yeah, that's currently what I'm doing now, and I work my butt off. I work hours and hours and hours a day, and
Hmm.
yeah,
And I'm
that's
so glad you're here. You took time out of your schedule to
yeah,
come here. And how nice is that?
yeah,
Our audience
yeah.
is so happy that you're here. Um, let's go ahead and get into our first question for
Okay,
film therapy, which is what is a film that inspires you?
okay. Here's I can I counter with another question? Can do I
Yes.
name one? Just one film?
Just one.
Got it. Okay, it's gonna be
Okay.
so hard to narrow down one.
It is.
Um, but I'll name a recent one, and for various reasons, I'll name a recent one.
Okay.
The Rocky films to me have always been a film that inspires me, but I'll name the most recent one, which is
Okay.
Creed.
Okay.
Um, Creed to me was a movie that had a special place in my heart, not just for the obvious reasons of the story of this kid who wants to prove himself, who wants to feel validated in some
Hmm.
way, and who wants to show that he, is not just a byproduct of his father's, you know, connection to another woman, and
Hmm.
he's actually like a human being who can make a success on his own. On paper, that's what Creed's about. But to me, Creed is about so much more than that. It's about family. It's about, reaching your dreams, not to please anyone else, but reaching your dreams, not even to fulfill something in your heart that you feel you have to do, but reaching your dreams because it's something you've always wanted to do, and you feel like this is what I can do. And whether I succeed or whether I fail, I want to give it everything I got. And I
Hmm.
know I have something there. So I want to
Right.
continue to pursue that. And seeing that story realized on film, and seeing it in a much more modernized version related to the Rocky versions, where Rocky was very much my father's generation and Creed is
Right.
very much my generation, where, you know, you have the backdrop of Philadelphia, but you still have the backdrop of hip hop. You have the backdrop of, life in general. You have the backdrop of relationships, and you have the backdrop of, a genuinely good guy who just
Hmm.
wants to do something good for himself and good for his family, and feels like what he's getting at work just isn't satisfying enough, and he feels like he needs to do more. Because, there's not too many spoilers. I don't know how spoilery we get, but
We do. So you can go
s-
into it.
so, obviously he has his job, and, his little company job or business job where he's wearing a tie and a suit and he sits in a cubicle, and that's fun. It's fine. It pays well. He's a well-educated
Hmm.
guy. He's a smart guy. He doesn't need to fight. It's because he wants to fight, and it very
Right.
much is one of those things where he wants to be fulfilled in a different way, because he feels that his potential is more than just that, and not in a cocky way, not an I'm better than this kind of way, but in a sense of like, I have this desire and this passion in my heart, and if I have this passion in my heart, I don't think that's a mistake. I don't think
Hmm.
this passion is telling me to do something that's wrong or evil or selfish in any way. I feel like it's something that I'm here to do. I feel like I'm put on this earth to do this. So, watching this film, seeing every scene, seeing it with my father, who I grew up watching the Rocky films with my dad. has a huge special place in my heart, and it definitely inspires me every time I see this movie, whether it's in a physical way, whether it's in an emotional way, or just like just grab something and start doing something with your life kind of thing. Get off the couch and do something. It's one of those films that hits every single aspect of that for me, and it's just
Mm.
I don't know. It just inspires me in every way, and it has a very special place in my heart because of that. Yeah.
I saw Creed in theaters,
Hmm.
and I think it was, I don't know, maybe 2 weeks before, at least a month before Creed came out, that all of the Rocky films were available on Netflix. And I was like, this is probably the time that I actually need to sit down and watch these films for the first time.
Got it.
Um,
I don't judge
Now,
because there's a
okay,
lot I haven't seen.
but at the same time, like I had already seen four,
Got it.
not, and I never knew if like I saw the entire version of four. I
Yeah.
always saw parts of
For
four,
there's a
and
lot of
like
random parts in for
there's random
you.
like
He's in the
there's so
snow.
many
He's over
montages
here.
that I'm
Yeah.
like, did I see this whole film? I'm
Yeah.
not sure. But I don't think I ever sat down and watched four from beginning to end, but I had seen the entire thing at some point, like it broken up bit by bit. Um, so I was really glad that I went on that journey and I was able to do it so closely to Creed, because then I was like, I am so ready and pumped for this film because I've loved the journey that this franchise has taken me on. Obviously, the fifth one was not my favorite, but I feel like, and I'm kind of sad that they ended there because it was on the downslope of Rocky. And like, I feel that the franchise, like, has to have a downslope somewhere,
Hmm.
because like that's how life is. We
Hmm.
go through our ups and downs,
Hmm.
and like that one hits such rock bottom that I'm like, it's probably because he as a character hits rock bottom,
Hmm.
like that people weren't backing it with money because it's not a great film.
Hmm.
But at the same time, it took so long to get to Rocky Balboa that I'm like, how did this happen that we like had this great divide when we really needed to see Rocky back on the upswing?
Hmm.
But I was so thankful that I was able to go through the entire journey of Rocky and then come to Creed. And I love what you're saying about how it inspires you, and it makes me feel like for people that are athletes, and the same with artists, there is something inside of them that's like, there is no other thing that I can do. I have to do this. And I see that a lot with people that I know, because they're like, I want to be an actor, like I want to be a voice actor, I want to do this. And it's like, I have this job, but this is what I keep continuing to do, even if like the door is closing on me all the time. Like I have to keep doing this because this is what my passion is. And I really appreciate those people for continuing to go after what they're passionate about.
Hmm.
So I find that with Creed, like it's a lot about passion,
Yeah.
and that's just, it's nice to see passionate people portrayed on screen.
I think passion. I think passion. I mean, it's funny because it's one of those things where I learned as very, very young as a kid, where my parents taught me that if you have something that's passion in your heart, i- i- let's once you dissect it and you realize what it is, like put aside, because passion can be mistaken for other things like self validification, or lust or something else,
Hmm.
where that's not passion, that's just you caring more about yourself and just wanting to bathe yourself in you know compliments and love, and I want
Sure,
to
I
be
mean, of
worshipped.
course, of course, we
but
want that.
but it's one of those things where once you brush that aside
Hmm.
and you realize what is deep down inside what you're truly passionate about, it could be something that's good, and something that's
Hmm.
not selfish, and not you know something that you want to use for self gratification, but something that you genuinely want to use because you feel like this will not only be good for me, but it can be used as a blessing for other people, and it can be used as a good tool for other
Right,
people. Like, this is something that I think that I can use as a skill given unto me for good. You know what
right.
I mean?
Yes, I absolutely know what you mean, and
And
I feel like
I feel like
that.
I'm explaining it in
No,
like this weird way, but
because it's hard with entertainment. Like this show
it
is
is.
an entertainment based show, but I feel like it's an important one because we talk about things like depression and we talk about how movies affect our lives.
Hmm.
Um, and I've gotten a lot of response back as to how it is important to other people and
Yeah.
like why, and have open discussions with people that I've never met
Yeah.
about film and how Manchester by the Sea is really important to them and other aspects. And I get into this. It's hard to put it into words, but
It is. It's
I
like
it seems like
philosophical.
it's so ridiculous that
Yeah.
something for entertainment can actually have meaning.
Exactly. I've had conversations with my mom a lot about this, where it's like when you take art in itself and you realize what art can do, right? And
Mhm,
especially nowadays, we've had this conversation in award shows and stuff like that, where people are talking about the power of art, and it really is
mhm,
something powerful. Where if you really brush aside the Hollywood facade, the Hollywood social climbing, the fakeness and the fake lives and all that stuff in the front, in the narratives that is created around Hollywood, because there is some, regardless of whether we want to admit it or not, there is
right.
some there, it's always going to be there. But if once you brush that aside and you realize the power of creating something good, right, something good,
Mhm,
not in the sense of like good, in the sense of like this can be used in a way that whether it's a sad film, whether it's a happy film, it can be used to touch somebody, and it can be used to touch somebody in a positive way. And that to me is so powerful and so useful,
mhm,
and can reach any it can cross all language barriers, and it can reach any market. And that to me is so important, and I really do feel like we need that nowadays in Hollywood. We need good people, because there is a lot of rotten people out there, especially
right,
here, who do want self gratification and want
right.
something that just makes
And a
money
lot of
or.
times you don't know that
Mhm.
until later.
Yeah.
Like you discover the layers of a person. Like you
Yeah.
think they want good. You
Yeah.
think that that's what their goal is. And
Yeah.
then you get to know them and you get to see what they've been doing. And then you realize this isn't for everyone. This
No.
is for self.
Yeah.
And then that can be a heartbreaking moment when you realize that
Yeah.
because you're like, oh, it wasn't about all of us, it
Yeah.
was about you.
Yeah, I feel like that's so important nowadays. Where, you know, I was, having a discussion with Brian about this, and it's one of those things where people assume, whether it be actors or anyone who's in front of the camera, uh, do you have to have this sense of like, I have to be more, I have to be more famous, I have to do this, and it's like maybe and maybe not, but one of those things where there's always this balance where
Hmm.
you have to balance career and you have to balance self, who you are as a person. If you ever feel like you're losing yourself, you always have to take a step back. Am I losing myself in the game? Am I losing myself into attempting to reach fame, or am I losing myself in success a little too much? And if you do feel that way, then take a step back. I
Hmm.
always feel like that's important. But there are people who can balance the world and who can balance the Hollywood, you know, being in front of a camera. They must be a camera whore or something like that. And
Sure.
it's like not necessarily. You can
Yeah.
be a person who does it for good and who can use a mic and who can use a stage or a platform for good. And that is so important nowadays. And I really feel like I know it sounds so cheesy and it sounds so ridiculous, but uh, that's kind of what I'm hoping I can do here. And, and,
Hmm.
and whether I'm in the beginning stages now, working where I'm working at, regardless, I want to
Right.
do something good. Yeah.
I want you to do something good too.
Good. Goodness.
Let's go to our second question, which is what is
Okay.
a film or a scene from a film that triggers a memory for you? Perhaps it's painful, perhaps it's happy.
Okay, so this one is one that is also sort of recent. I kind of went with recent because I was like, it's easier to remember. But a movie that for various reasons, has a very special place in my heart. Um, is Tarzan.
Oh,
Yeah, the Disney
I like
animated movie
Tarzan.
Tarzan, and for various reasons, but the main reason is, um, I have a very strong connection and very strong relationship with my mother. I was homeschooled the vast majority of my life.
Wow.
So I know that's, oh, I know, homeschool. I'm the
Uh,
homeschool
okay, wait.
kid.
Question before we continue
Yeah.
on.
Oh no, I lost half
When,
the audience.
no, when did you, because you have said to me that your mom does not know English.
She
When
does.
did you learn English? Like, how is
Oh, I mean,
that?
I have TV. I have.
Okay.
I mean,
Okay.
I live in America. It's
So
so easy.
what age were you when you were fluent? Just can you even remember?
No,
Okay.
I think I learned it conjointly. Because think about it. If I'm
Mhm.
speaking Spanish at home and then outside of home, I'm not speaking Spanish.
Mhm.
Probably
Okay.
4 years old, 5 years old. I was probably speaking
Through
perfect English.
immersion.
Yeah,
Amazing.
yeah,
I love it. I
yeah.
love it.
Caught on pretty
I
quick.
wish I could speak another language. I
Yeah.
think that's never going to be in the cards for
It,
me. Like,
it,
I've
I'm
tried
so
so many times.
so grateful that I'm able to speak Spanish and
Mhm.
English. So grateful for it. But yeah, so kindergarten I went to school, and then first grade I was homeschooled, and then I was homeschooled till freshman year in high school, and
Okay.
then got out of high school. Well, I mean, went to public school, but I had a very strong connection with my mother. You know,
Mhm.
my dad was working a lot. He was in Mexico, so he was
Yeah.
work.
That's
I mean, he would come home like 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock at night. So I would hardly see my dad for a huge portion of the time. So I'm with my mom a lot. So I have a very strong connection with my mom, basically.
mhm.
And then moving out to LA was such a big deal for my mom and for my family,
Mhm.
especially for my mother, because of the fact that I've been with her forever through college. I never moved out college, never went to the dorms, never did that. Um, so we sat down and we watched Tarzan, and I really wanted to watch Tarzan with her because I know there's this really amazing scene where Tarzan's mom tells Tarzan who he is, and he tells him that we found you, you're a human being, and he takes him inside this room where Tarzan was found by her, and where Tarzan's family was, taken or killed or whatever. And she says, you're a human being, this is your family. So if you want to go with Jane, it's up to you. You know, it's your decision now. Because Tarzan wanted to leave. He wanted to go
Yeah.
off with Jane and live his world, because he's a human being and not an ape. Um, and then there's a scene where she says, it's your decision. You can go if you want to. And then it, she walks out and lets Tarzan, think about it and make time to think about it. Comes back, and then Tarzan's dressed in his suit, and he's decided to leave and to take off and to leave his mother and to, venture off into his life as a human being. Um, and then he kneels down next to his mom as she begins to cry because she realizes that Tarzan's leaving him. And and he kneels down next to her, and he says, no matter where I go, you will always be my mother. And then he
Aw.
says, she answers and says, you will always be in my heart. And then they cry. My mom and I cried our eyes
Aw.
out. We were bawling, tears flowing down our face, hugging each other, and just crying like crazy because my mom was really struggling with letting me go and letting me go to Los Angeles.
Aw.
And it was
Because you weren't the
really
only one that went to Los Angeles, because you had a
yeah,
brother
but
as
he was
well.
a half brother, my dad's
Okay.
brother.
Oh,
He's my
okay. Got
dad's
it.
son. Correct. So this was a bigger deal for my mom.
Mhm.
So that was like this was the first time she has ever experienced this.
Mhm.
So it was like a huge deal for my mom. It was a huge deal for her. So now every time I watch that scene or every time I watch that film, it's cry on
Back to that
command,
moment.
straight up on command. And it's
Sweet.
such a connection that my mom and I will always have, and it's something
Mhm.
that film will always bring about that memory, as far as just her that film literally reflecting real life, where like this is actually happening to me, and it's the exact same
Mhm.
thing as far as like you will always be my mother. That's exactly what I want you to know in this moment, mom. And this scene said it
Aw.
exactly how I wanted to say it.
So you kind of planned it out. Like,
Yeah, I
there's this
did.
scene in Tarzan
I
that
kind
I
of did.
want my mom to watch
Yeah,
before I leave.
because
Oh,
I
that's cute.
really do, care about my mom, and I love her so much, and to this day I still miss her. But and yeah, she had a strong influence on my life, so I really wanted her to see that. And she loves Disney animated movies, and we grew
Mhm.
up with Disney animated movies, and we used to watch it all the time, and it was always such a big deal for them. But yeah, that's a scene for me that impacted me a lot.
So when you watch it with her, do you watch it in the Spanish version, or how does that work?
Spanish subtitles, I saw it.
Okay.
I was thinking about it last night too because I was like, did I watch it? No, I did subtitles. Yeah,
Okay.
Spanish
Okay.
subtitles. Yeah, yeah. So it was great. And even then, she understands perfect English.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, she's been here forever, so
Understands but doesn't speak it.
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. It's more of like a
I understand how that works with
yeah,
language,
yeah.
because I
She
could
knows
there's
very
some
well.
things I can understand,
Yeah,
and but definitely I cannot communicate.
Yeah, but
I'm
she's
just like, "Mm."
yeah, but she's great. I mean, yeah. But that movie's yeah, means a lot.
I remember watching as you were telling this story, I was thinking of like when I was like leaving home to come to Los Angeles. The second time, the first time I came down to Los Angeles was to go to USC. So I was here for, I went to SC for 3 years. I spent the first year at a junior college and then transferred in as a sophomore. And then went home for a little less than a year and was getting my teaching credential and working, and then was moved back in like, I don't know, April. So I went home like after graduation and then moved back the following April, basically to pretty much be with my boyfriend, which is my husband now, and get finish up my teaching credential. But I remember watching Little House on the Prairie with my mom before I left. I was like, "We'll always have Little House on the Prairie, Mom. We'll
Yeah,
have that." Like
yeah,
the episodes. I like that show,
yeah.
so
It's
that's
always
funny.
one of those things where if you've been into movies and if your parents are into movies, you kind of have like a connection in some sort of movie. At least that's
Hmm.
how I feel. Like where my with my dad, I definitely have that Rocky connection. I have the Star Wars connection. I have the scary movies and the creature connections because he was into that
Right.
as well.
Oh,
And then
fun.
with my mom, I have like I'm still super into Disney films, and we went to
Hmm.
see Moana when Moana came
Oh,
out, and
fun.
we love any kind of Disney animated movies. We go watch like my mom's like, I want to watch that movie. I want to watch Frozen. Who wants to watch Frozen? And my brother is like, I'm not watching Frozen. And I'm like, I want to watch Frozen. I don't care. I
Yeah,
love Disney movies.
it's great.
So
I love it.
it's always one of those things where I've always liked animated films, and I'm like, "All right, I'll go watch it with my
Yes.
mom. And we've always had that connection growing up. So and we still do. Like we still sit down and watch like our favorites, which is like Aladdin and Mulan and Beauty and the
Hmm.
Beast, and like those are my favorite Disney animated films. And my mom has seen it like a dozen times. So and I still love watching them. So, yeah, it's like a big deal
I love
in
it.
my family.
What's a movie? We'll get into our third question now. What's a movie that helps you through difficult times?
Okay, a movie that helps me through difficult times. There, man. See, I can interpret this question and say it's because it makes me happy, or it's
Good.
because that as well. But it's funny. I'm gonna pick a movie that is such a bizarre choice because
Okay.
um it probably wouldn't be the first one you think of.
50 Shades of Grey.
Yeah, it's gonna be 50 Shades Darker, guys. Um, no, I'm gonna pick The Matrix.
Okay.
For various reasons. This is I know it's a weird pick, and I apologize if I'm
There are
taking a
no
page of
weird picks.
emotional. The freaking Matrix, dude.
Well, it helps you feel better.
um, yeah, I don't know. There's something about this movie. It came out 1999. It's I was 8 years old, right?
Mhm,
And I really everything I wanted to do, anything I wanted to do when I was 8 was just watch The Matrix. I was like, I want to watch this movie so bad. I know it's rated R, but I want to watch this movie so bad. And I see these martial arts guys. They're all dressed in black, and I was super wanted to see it. And when I
mhm,
saw the film, it was like everything of my childhood encapsulated into one film. And so if anything, the reason why it would help me through hard times is because it's just this giant nostalgia train that kind of
mhm,
just takes me on a journey of like all these memories and all these emotions that I felt as a kid, where it's like everything I love all into one. and
mhm,
and and if you really break down the pieces of the Matrix, it's such a well done, well written movie that beyond all the cool all black on black outfits and martial arts fight scenes, which is the main reason why I enjoyed it as a kid, it really is just like a peeling apart of fakeness and facadeness, and peeling apart of taking everything off of you that isn't real and choosing to step into the real world and believe in something and not just kind of go with the crowd and go with the flow and go with what everyone else is doing, and be happy knowing that you're going a different way and you're going a different route, and knowing that simply because you're different, because that's the whole like be
mhm.
you, right, kind of
Yeah.
thing that's kind of being told to kids nowadays, and it's been told our entire lives, but it's so true because I never had that luxury of you know being like, I'm gonna be peer pressured. No, I'm going this way. No, I'm going that way because I was
Mhm.
homeschooled.
Yeah.
So I didn't have that. So when I went to high school, I was getting beat over the head with that a million miles an hour because it's my first time and it's in a public school. So it's literally
That's an eye opener.
it's a, it's like a million bricks hitting my head, and it's like all at once. But because I have my feet so set on who I am as a person, even at that age, just based on how I was raised and based on that, I always knew that I never wanted to go with the flow. I never wanted
Mhm.
to just simply be another person in the crowd or another battery in the machine.
Mhm. Mhm.
Matrix.
Mhm.
Another person in the Matrix and just live the world of what everyone else is doing, which is fake and not real, but simply because it feels real, it can be real, which is the entire thing that the Matrix is based around, which is like it feels real, but it's not. And it's one of those things where do you just want to be another plugin, another person, another statistic, or do you want to be something different? Do you want to set a trend or
Mhm.
set something apart that makes you completely 100% unique?
Yeah.
And that's what the Matrix teaches us about, like, everyone who follows Morpheus or everyone or even Neo himself, who where he kind of sets out to be the one and sets out to be different. And as Morpheus says, there's a difference between knowing the path and there's a difference between walking the path and knowing the path. And he's beginning to believe and walk the path
Every
of.
time I watch this movie, I think I would take the ignorance pill.
No, to me, I love this movie so much, and it very much is like a philosophical thought process on society and on what we have structured as a society and what we structure as technology in general, and
Mhm.
the fact that deep down inside it's just a movie about just be yourself. But
Just be
yeah,
yourself.
every time I watch this movie, it encapsulates all those philosophical things, but it
Mhm.
also encapsulates my childhood and brings back all those memories of me wanting to be a crazy martial artist with superpowers and
I
all
mean,
this
who
stuff.
doesn't?
Yeah, I mean, as an 8-year old, that's all I want to be. I just want to dodge bullets.
Did you see it in the theater?
I did not. No, I
Okay,
saw it
so
when it
when
came out on VHS. A friend of mine
okay,
rented it, and I was just watching it. And I was mind blown.
but
Mind blown.
you were still 8.
I was 8. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, yeah. So
Okay. I love it.
yeah, yeah. It's very. I don't know. It's a movie that I've always loved, and it's a movie that have has always influenced me, I guess, and has always made me feel good in through any
Well,
kind of
that's the
time
point. I
period.
mean, it's that's why it's not like a strange pick.
Kind of is.
No, it's not.
It kind of
Because
is, but
it's your pick of
yeah,
what brings you nostalgia and what brings you happiness.
yeah.
So
I guess so. Yeah.
yeah, I don't think anyone ever had it. I mean, if you said like nymphomaniac, I'd be like, all
Maybe
right,
that's a little weird.
okay.
Slightly weird. Yeah.
But no, I love The Matrix. I'm a bit older than you, obviously. So I saw this in theaters. I was 18. So,
Okay.
man, I'm an old lady, guys, compared to the youngins that I have all around me. Well, thank you so much
Yeah,
for
yeah,
sharing and for
yeah.
being on this
I
show.
appreciate it. Thank you for having me.
Where can the other patients that are in the waiting room find you?
You can find me on the Twitters at Squad Leader Ace. Yeah,
All right.
yeah, I will
There
be
you
there.
go. You're sometimes on
Oh
Schmoes
yes, I am
on
sometimes on
Wednesdays.
Schmoes. Sometimes you will catch me in the background. Sometimes I will be on a couch. But
Sometimes you're on mic.
yeah, sometimes I will be there, guys. So
Mm-hmm.
you can catch me there as well.
All
Yeah.
right. You can find me all day, every day on Twitter at Miss Movies. I was on TV Fights this week, so you can see that on Screen Junkies Plus if you have it. I was on Movie Talk last week on Thursday talking about Batman and the script rewrites and all that goodness. And yeah, I think that's about it that I have going on. And no, Matthew Sosa, I am not Nick Scarpino's wife. But that is hilarious. Okay. And so thank you all for joining us today. We'll see you on the next session of Film Therapy. Bye. 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 Bye.